Hello, my name is Scott Macias Lettieri, and I have a 1 hour limited TV series, historical fiction, called Aurora Vargas. Aurora Vargas. Think the Latina Erin Brockovich. You know, I don't think there's ever been a better time to tell this story of resiliency and rebellion and redemption than right now as we watch our beloved city, Los Angeles, rise from the ashes. The logline. When an embittered widow's 1950s Latino neighborhood in Los Angeles is threatened, she leads the resistance against the construction of Dodger Stadium. Real people, real history based on real facts. Now, I've written a series Bible, and I've also written a script for the pilot. The pilot starts off with a teaser, an overhead shot of current Dodger Stadium. It's a very beautiful day. The pristine San Gabriel Mountains are in the backdrop. The sun is beginning to set. No sign of any baseball fans. Very quiet, very peaceful. That's when we start to hear the sounds of occupation. Tires screeching on dirt roads, dogs barking. Faintly, we hear a woman screaming, "Leave me alone! Get off of me!" That's when Dodger Stadium morphs into what the neighborhood looked like 65 years prior. We zoom in to one particular house, and that's when we meet our hero, Aurora Vargas, the woman who was screaming. Now, Aurora is being forcefully evicted from her home by 4 sheriff's deputies. They're carrying her down a flight of stairs. All along, she's screaming and flailing. They get her down the flight, and they throw her in the back of a patrol car, and then they drive off. End of teaser. Act 1, we go back in time 10 years prior, and it's the same house. This time, Aurora is doing some gardening in her parents' front lawn. That's when we realize that Aurora is in a very bad place. She's very depressed. She's still grieving after her husband died 4 years prior in World War II. And that's when we meet her 2 best friends, her sister Victoria and her cousin Cruz. They come out, try to cheer her up to no avail. At one point during the little conversation that they're having, well, Aurora looks down Bishop Road, the road that leads right past her house, and she sees 2 men working on the road. She gets a funny feeling, and she bolts. She heads over toward the 2 men, and when she gets there, well, she has a very contentious conversation, if you will, very hostile. And at the end of that conversation, well, Aurora is convinced that the city of Los Angeles is there to destroy her neighborhood, pretty much all that she has left. So she decides that she's going to start a resistance. She goes home to home, tries to get people recruited into resisting so-called urban renewal, but none of the neighbors are really up for it. In fact, well, they love Aurora, but they think she's a little bit touched, the crazy war widow. She's very frustrated. This is when we're introduced to Story B, where we meet 3 of the men who will ultimately be part of the destruction of the neighborhood. Adolph Zukor, who is the chief of Paramount Studios, Norman Chandler, who is the publisher of the LA Times, and the mayor of Los Angeles, Fletcher Bowron. Also in that meeting is a young, idealistic planning commissioner. His name is Frank Wilkinson. Now, Frank is convinced that urban renewal and public housing will be good for everyone all around, the neighbors as well as the power brokers. They're discussing what to do about Chavez Ravine. Also, we're introduced to Story C. That's when we meet the owner of the Brooklyn Dodgers, Walter O'Malley. Walter O'Malley is in conversation with his general manager of the Dodgers, Branch Rickey, and they're talking about possibly leaving New York. Now, neither one of them want to take the Dodgers out of New York, especially Walter O'Malley. He was born and raised and bred there. He has family there. He has roots there. And the Brooklyn citizens love their team. They don't want to leave Brooklyn. They don't want to leave New York. But O'Malley is facing some resistance in the form of a very powerful man, the Parks Commissioner, Robert Moses. We go back to the Palo Verde neighborhood, and we really learn what's at stake here. We get to know intimately some of the neighbors. There's also flashbacks, and we see Aurora as a younger person, full of hope, full of optimism. At the end of the pilot, Walter O'Malley decides that he wants to go to Los Angeles and look for maybe a spot where he could put a ballpark. So he goes there, he gets in a helicopter. In the helicopter with him is a city councilman and the pilot, and they're flying above the Los Angeles basin. And at one point, O'Malley says he wants to go into Chavez Ravine and check it out. So they go into the ravine and they get into the Palo Verde neighborhood, and that's when they look down and they see a bunch of kids waving at them and chasing them around. At that point, O'Malley says he wants to go deeper into the neighborhood. Also, Aurora is on her parents' roof doing some home improvement. She hears the helicopter. She looks up, but she doesn't see it, so she goes back to work. Well, when the helicopter goes deeper into the neighborhood toward her house, she decides to get a better look, so she stands up to look at it. She shields her eyes from the sun, but that's when she stumbles. She trips, and she falls, she tumbles, lands on her back on her parents' lawn, and right before she loses consciousness, she looks up and she sees the helicopter hovering over her, like a fighter who's just knocked out an opponent, like Muhammad Ali over Sonny Liston. But unlike Sonny Liston, Aurora is down, but not out. End of pilot. Hope you like the story. Hope to hear from you soon. Thank you very much.